Masechta Sanhedrin, Daf Nun Tes Amud Aleph. We're starting from the first words on Nun Tes Amud Aleph. Frag the Gemara about Dinin. We know the setting up a court system for Goyim is one of the mitzvahs. One of the mitzvahs that are counted between the Shav mitzvah and Nayach. And you said you only count what kind of mitzvahs? We answered yesterday. Only those mitzvahs that is al Sheva al Taisa, not Kumbasei. Dinim is one of the mitzvahs, Sheva mitzvahs, but that's Kumbasei. You have to set it up. You have to set up a court system. It says, Dinim Kumbasei Vikachosh when you are counting it, and you say you're only counting Sheva al Taisa. And the Gemara Kumbasei Vish Sheva al Taisa. It's both. You're right. But the component, since it has a component of Sheva al Taisa, we're counting it. What's the Sheva al Taisa? Kumbasei is setting up the court system. The Sheva al Taisa is that you should hold back from doing a crooked case. Loy sishpetu loy lasis ovo. That
avoided Adam's case.
It says lihimana melifel. You should hold out from doing an action which is ovo, which is krumkeit. So that's Sheva al Taisa. Okay. Anyway, Rabbi Yochanan said, a guy that learns Torah, he's Chayim Misa. Shanam, like it says in the pasuk, Torah tziva lanu. That he learns Torah. It means the same thing. Torah tziva lanu. The Torah was commanded to us, Moshe Meirasha, as an inheritance. Lanu, to us, only to us. Meirasha, it's an inheritance. V'lei lahem, not to the goyim. Because it says lanu, Torah tziva lanu Meisha, lanu. So let us count it amongst the 7 mitzvahs that they're not allowed to learn Torah. It's a chiyuv misa, and that's a case of Sheva al Taisa. So says the Gemara. Now let's understand. Manda Mamirasha, the ones that says Torah is inheritance. Listen, migzol kol gazala. So they're stealing it. They're stealing our inheritance, and with that included in Gzelas. It's not a new mitzvah. It is amongst the Sheva mitzvah le'nayach. Manda Mahirasa, those that say that the Eibishter was Mekadosh us and got us engaged to him. We are the Kala. The Eibishter is the Chasam. So he brought us in through the Torah. So then this guy who's learning and is using our Kiddushin is considered as being Baal Anaira Amarasa Biskila. Somebody that's about Torah is dealing with that. He's playing around the Morasa. Is playing very serious. So this is Gila Arayis. And such a case is already counted amongst the mitzvah Le'nayach. In fact, the Yimana Meisvei. Meisvei, in fact, the Yimana Akasha. This is like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. The beginning of the line it says Meisvei somewhere. In fact, the Yimana Meisvei. It would say that from where do we know that a goy who learns Torah is considered as a kohen gadol? Only like a mamzer. It says a mamzer Talmud Chacham is greater than a kohen gadol. It says a Talmud Chacham, but who's a mamzer is greater than a kohen gadol, which is Amaretz. He's opens first for benching, called first for the Torah. Yeah, he's more chesed. But here it says King Kohen Gadol. But B'Peil Mamish, what do we see? That a guy can learn Torah, and if he learns Torah, is not Nishnovas Nishnasa. Kohen Gadol is like a Kohen Gadol. So Yimar, where do we see that? Shanema. A guy, Shanema, echte guy, but he's like a Kohen Gadol. So Yimar Shanema, where do we see? As one sec, like it says here, you had the Rosh Hashiva from the guy, the beg over here. Never like it says in the pasuk, Asher Yasa Isa Ha'adam Achaybahim. It says Ha'adam, any person, and he should live in them in the mitzvah. So you see, Kohen Levinu Yisrael Loy Nema. It doesn't say Dafka Kohen Levinu Yisrael. Ela Ha'adam Ha'adam Shavi Lev Gecham Veisbatei Aru Kohen Gadol. Ha'adam means anybody, even a goy. A goy is Haman Sheichet. And the Gemara Hasa B'Shav mitzvahs they do. The Gemara said he's like a Kohen Gadol, referring to his own 7 mitzvahs as it Lenin Echt Metalim Mefarsh. Then he's like a Kohen Gadol. So the Gemara, Reb Chanina, yeah, Reb Chanina ben Gamliel Leima Af Hadam Minachai. that Bnei Noach is not allowed to eat even the blood from a minachai. So this is Eva Benachai. When it talks about basa benafshei, dama lo yisechelu, so it means basa while the dam is still working, when his nefesh is there, that so he's not allowed to eat off an animal that's still living. That's Eva Benachai. Now, Rabbi Chanin ben Gamliel af hadam benachai. He comes to add even the blood of you're not allowed to, a guy's not allowed to even eat the blood of a chai.
When he's dead?
No, chai when he's alive. In fact, my time Rabbi Chanin ben Gamliel. What's the reason? He says because kribe bas v'nafshe lo yisaychel. That's one iser. That the bas v'nafshe you shouldn't eat. That's the eva minachai. Damoi. It says befeidish about the blood itself on its own. Damoi v'nafshe lo yisaychel. That's a separate iser. Rabbanon, what do they taka do? Rabbanon of the Tanakama, what did they learn out from the word damai? Because they obviously don't learn that there's a iser. They're coming to mate. The blood by shratzim. Blood of a sheretz is not considered nefesh. It's one part of the basa. It's not separate by blood of a bal chai. There's two components. There's the basa and then there's the dam, which is nefesh. By a sheretz, the dam is part of the basa. And that's why it's going to be mutter. It's not considered dami benafshe.
That's why you did both things, sister. That's why you did.
So
that's why you did both.
That's why the Torah says dami benafshe.
You can eat bugs?
Huh?
You can eat bugs?
Oh yeah, kosher bugs. Yitz b'dava atayma says you might similarly a Yisrael who's also warned about the dam and achai. There's a hashara for a yid not to eat the blood of a bal chai. Where do we see that? It says rak. So the Gemara continues with the words of the Brayso that Rabbi Chanina ben Gamliel dashin. Also, till now we're talking about a goy, the isa by a goy eating the dam. Now the Gemara, the Brayso talks about a yid. Where do we see that? Rak chazak, only strengthen yourself. Lavilte achel adam, from eating blood. Ki adam he anafish, because the dam is the soul. So don't eat the soul of the nafish while it's alive. And then the pasuk teaches us so that it's forbidden for a yid to eat even minachai. And from this, that this isa is said next to achilas dam, so we learn out the isa for achilas dam also. Rak chazak levilte achil hadam, that's one. Ze even minachai, that's even minachai. And ki hadam hu hanefesh, when it says the dam is the soul, so now he's talking about separate. Ze dam minachai, that's talking about the blood. The Chachamim argue on Rabbi Chanin ben Gamliel.
If the goyim
right.
So the Jews are allowed. What do you have to tell about the Jews? If a goy is a
No, he's just bringing you psukim. You don't make you can't learn out a punishment. We're talking about the punishment. You can't learn out from a kal v'chema. From a kal v'chema, you can't. We have to have psukim. Anyway, so we hear Yisrael. What? But so the Chachamim argue on Rabbi Chanin ben Gamliel. They hold that dam of a behemah bechaya, a yid is allowed to, is not asa because of chayes behemah, and the Gemara will explain now what the Chacham learn out. It says the isa dam next to the isa of Eva Menachai, and the Chacham don't learn that there's a isa dam. So what do they learn out from it? They learn ahul dam hakadosh haneshama yotze behuda asa. They're telling which time. Oh, there's only one category of dam that's forbidden. The blood that they use to let out. It's black. Hakaza, yeah. So that dam that comes out is a sort of a blackish color. So that's the isa of that type of dam is also. For Yisrael, asli Yisrael mishum dam. That's the dam. Mavad shehei dam shanashama yitzbay. That's the dam shanashama yitzbay. So you want to love it? Yeah. Yeah, the Dracula's.
What do you mean the hakaza has nothing to do with the sham?
A regular dam.
Hakaza means it for medical purposes. Hakaza.
Yes, but you're not allowed to take that dam. You're doing it by behemah. So to make behemah healthier.
Right.
But that dam you're not allowed to eat because that dam has the mamzer. He holds the Rabban hold that's the only dam that has the real nefesh in it. And he brings down here if you want to see. What Who Adam Shemaska lost his Meguf Habehemes Shachar. It starts off with a blackish color.
Well, that's what,
It's different.
When you shechted, that's
No,
when-
no. Damakoza.
So how could Damakosa be nefesh if it's meant for medicinal basis?
But it is. You have to take some of the nefesh out. It does affect the nefesh. You have to. Sagt die Mother, lovely the michta livnei koyach. In fact, the Mother, why did the Torah have to write the Sisa for Goyim and lovely the Mishna and then repeat it on Sinai? The same Isa. And the Gemara Rabbi Yisrael Rab Chanina, like Rabbi Yisrael Rab Chanina, Rabbi Yisrael Rab Chanina, Kol mitzvah shenam le'noyach, livnei noyach. Every mitzvah that was already commanded by Bnei Noyach, and that Isa was repeated on Har Sinai, is for the purpose to tell you Saya Goy and Saya Yid are Asa. Livnei Noyach, what's if the command was only said for Bnei Noyach? V'lo nishnas b'Sinai. And not only for Bnei Noyach. If the command was said by Bnei Noyach before Matan Torah, and it wasn't repeated b'Sinai, v'lo nishnas b'Sinai, it wasn't repeated, so then it's L'Yisol Nemra v'lo Livnei Noyach. It was said dafka for a Yid and not for Bnei Noyach. The Gemara is going to ask, it should be the opposite, because it wasn't Har Sinai. We'll get to it, but in short, a Yid was elevated to high Kedusha when it came to Matan Torah. Right? So it has to be a Yid has more chumras than a Goy. And the Gemara will explain. So it cannot be going on, a Goy has a Isa and a Yid doesn't. When a Yid was elevated to Matan Torah to a higher level, and you're going to say the Isa is only applicable to a Goy because it wasn't repeated on Har Sinai, that doesn't make sense. Because any Isur, who's more chamor, on which person did they put more Isurim? More restrictions on a Yid? Okay, we're going to learn about it soon. Okay. We only have one example that it was said once for the Bnei Noyach and not repeated. It goes according to Rabbi Yehuda. So therefore, the Isa of Ev Menachai, the Gid HaNesher was only for Yidden. It was only said once. It wasn't repeated on Har Sinai. So since it wasn't repeated on Har Sinai, a Goy is allowed to eat Gid HaNesher. Okay? You know the story with Gid HaNesher. Yaakov had he was wrestling with the Malach. The Malach dislocated the sinus, what do you call it? Sciatic nerve, or the top of the thigh. He dislocated
But
it.
the son,
Huh?
but the son is.
He healed it. Yeah. I'll leave the Rabbi Yehuda. Follows the Shita of Rabbi Yehuda. Sagt die Gemara, Amar, the Tanakh, gesagt, komm jetzt schon, aber Bnei Noyach von der Nishnas Sinai. Any mitzvah that was said twice. It was said for Bnei Noyach, meaning before Matan Torah, and then it was repeated on Sinai. So that it was repeated is to tell us that not only Goyim have the Sisr, but also Yidden have the Sisr. So Gemara Adarabba, Farket, with the Nishnas Sinai, from this that it was repeated again on Sinai, I should say L'Yisrael Nemra, from this that it was repeated on Sinai, he's emphasizing now it's only for the Yidden, not for the Goyim. Why can't we say that? Because it's impossible. We know that the Isa of Avid Zecham is said twice. It was said for the Goyim, and then it was repeated on so you have it twice, and Avid Zecham B'Sinai the Onesh we find that the Goyim were chased out. The Teishrei Canaan, the Canaanim were chased out of the land because they were able to Avid Zecham. Also, so you see, it wasn't only for the Yidden. They shouldn't serve idols. We have an ayah was said for the Goyim because the Goyim were chased out of their land because of serving idols. So you see, you can't say it was repeated. It's only for the Yidden. It's for the Goyim because the Goyim were punished for that. So let's say it was said. You said that if it was only said for the Bnei Korach, the Isser, and it wasn't repeated al Har Sinai. So and you saw so Nemra. It was said for the Bnei Noyach, but when it came out it wasn't said again. And you said, that's only for the Yidden. It should say it's only for the Goyim, right? You get it?
No.
The command was lechatchila said for Goyim. When Matan Torah came, that was for whom? For Yidden. It wasn't said then. So what do you say? Oh, it wasn't said for the Yidden. It's for the Yidden Dafka now. Does that make sense to you?
No.
That's what the Gemara is asking. We paskin, that's what it means. That if it was only said to the Bnei Korach, and when it came out in Torah, it wasn't repeated, it's Dafka for the Yidden. How do you make sense of it? That's the Gemara's kasha. And for the Gemara, Adarabba. Oh, fact, the Gemara, Adarabba. Midaloi nishnas b'Sinai. From this, that it wasn't repeated on Sinai, which was specifically for the Yidden. Living the Korach Nemra v'Leila Yisrael. You're going to say that it would make more sense to say living the Korach Nemra. It was said Dafka for the Bnei Noach. And v'Leila Yisrael, it was not said for the Yisrael. And for the Gemara, you can't learn it that way. Because Leika Midam del Yisrael Shari Ulei Yicham Asa. There isn't anything that's mutter for a Yid that should be Asa for a guy. And in short, if you want to talk a little deeper, he brings it down. And even the Chassidus it brings down. The Yidden were elevated to a much higher level, that they took much more restrictions upon themselves to be holier than the Goyim. So by Matan Torah, so there should be more Yisurim on a Yid than a guy. So you're going to say now, oh, if it was said L'bnei Korach and not, and wasn't repeated on Har Sinai, oh, the Yisr is only for the Goyim. That's impossible. That's impossible.
But keeping Shabbos and Goy is not supposed to keep Shabbos, and Jews keep Shabbos.
Right. That's one of them, you see. The Goy doesn't keep Shabbos. Who has the restrictions of Shabbos? The Yidden. Everything. Mila. We'll go through each one. Pri Revia. We don't find that Isa that's only applicable to a Goy and not by a Yid. We know if one goes to war and he finds a woman who, even though she's married, she's a gorgeous woman, the Jew can take her. Goy gets killed. He cannot touch her. So you see, the Issa is for whom? Only for the Goy, not for the Yid. So you just said there's no such a thing. The Yidden they have a much bigger restriction than the Goyim, and here you say there's no restriction of Yifas Torah to a Yid, but for a Goy there is. Yeah. Goyim don't have the Inyan of conquering land. Who has the Inyan of the mitzvah of Kibush? The Yidden. So since there's a Inyan of Kibush by Yidden, that's why they have the mitzvah that they're allowed to take Yifas Torah. A Goy doesn't have that. I got you. Let's start this one. It says, if you steal from a Yid less than a Shabbat Pruta, not Chai for Gzela. You steal from a Goy. Pstaganef. Why? You say the Isser on a Yid should be, if there's a Isser for a Goy, for sure should be a Isser for a Yid and still Pas Mishavah Pruta. Says, the Isser is still there. It's just a Yid is Mavater on less than a Shabbat Pruta. A Goy can is Mavater sein. A Goy is, he's not Mavater. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Why if you have a toast, the guy gave you money back and it wasn't, it's not, it's overpaid.
Yeah,
You
shtutz.
don't have to give it back.
To a Goy, a Yid you have to. No, that's okay. But here it says, by you steal from a Goy, Pas Mishavah Pruta, you don't have to worry. You stole from a Goy, you got to worry. So, if you mother Bachas Mishavah Pruta, you see this is about a Goy, not by Yid. So, if you mother Has Mishum Lav Name Chila Nino. There, the Goyim are not Pashat, not B'nei Mechila, but it's not that the Isa is not there. The Yid no Mavata. So, you mother Komitz Shanam Lev Nei Neirach V'Nish Mesina Lezev Lezev Amra. So, any mitzvah that was said for the B'nei Neirach and it was repeated in the Sinai, it comes to tell us that it was given for the Yidden and for the Goyim. In fact, the mother about Mila, it says Mila Shanam Lev Nei Neirach. It says by the Goyim, meaning Avram before Matan Torah was considered as a Ben Noach. And it says the Chsiv, V'ata and you Avram as Bisti Tishmer, Himalachem Kol Zacha. This is before Matan Torah. V'nishnis b'Sinai, and it was repeated again on Sinai. Uba Yoim Hashmina Yimel B'Sar Alasa. That's what it says. Al Har Sinai. Yeah, but from deswegen, he was considered as a Ben Noach before Matan Torah. And there was a tzivui then, the Eibishter told me, as sich mal sein, and that's why he waited for the Eibishter to give the tzivui. The Pfarrer hat sich mal given Dafkit zu 99 Jahr. That's why he waited so long to wait for the tzivui. Yeah, he didn't want to do it because he wanted to have me'en of the mitzvahs of Matan Torah, which was mitzvah by the Eibishter. So he wanted to have a similar mitzvah, so he waited all that time. But B'Peil Mamish, what do we see? You have when he was a Ben Noach, before he became a Yid, and then you have this tzivui of Mila after Matan Torah. And we say, who has to do Mila? Rakli Yisrael. And you said if it's repeated twice, the same, one's by Ben Noach and one's by Sinai, it's for Goyim have to fulfill the mitzvah as well. I'm thinking about it. That's not telling us a mitzvah. This that it repeated on Sinai, he's come to tell you a limud that if the milah falls out on Shabbos, they falls out on Shabbos by Yoim, meaning on the day that you have to be malad the tinik, which is the day. But Afilu b'Shabbos, he's come to tell you that Afilu b'Shabbos. Not that he's telling you again the whole concept. Zog the Gemara v'harei pri Yovia. We know pri Yovia shenem levnei noyach. It was said lechatchila levnei noyach. The Eibishter told by Adam, by Adam, who's considered as a ben noyach. V'chsiv atem pru ravu. And then it says again, Menishnas B'Sinai was repeated again B'Sinai. Lech, when the Yid came to Har Sinai, the Eibishter said, everybody has to be separated from themselves for 3 days. Right. Because the Eibishter is giving the Yid wanted dafka the Eibishter. Okay, the Eibishter says, you want me? Fine. You have to separate from your wives for 3 days. It says, and after the 3 days, what did the Eibishter say? Lech emer lahem shuv lachem lechem. Go back and live with your wives and have kinder. So so did we say that the whole mitzvah pruravu is only for a yid, not for a bnei noyach? L'chayda there's twice this tzivui. Says that's not a tzivui, a pruraviya, when it says they should return to the tents. Why? That's a different limud. Ahu lekol davish b'minyan tzarich minyan achalat asa. When a minyan of Talmidei Chacham tell you this is the halacha, even though it's limited to a time. Let's say here was limited for 3 days, they should separate it. So it doesn't go automatically, they can go back to that tense. They need a minyan to be mated again. So that's the limud. So if so, I can play with you for all Shav Mitzvah Neinayach. Kol Chad v'Chad Nami Neim Mishumil Seisni. Say all the Shav Mitzvah Neinayach is not for Ben Nayach, it's really for Yid. It was repeated on Sinai. It's repeated to tell you the special dinim. And he gives you, he starts telling you, Avodah Zarah, the reason why he repeated it, to tell you he gets punished for it. Gila Arayes, he's come to add the punishment, and by Avodah Zarah, which type of Avodah Zarah? Gila Arayes, which Gila Arayes? But Gila Arayes to tell you the punishment. So it's a kasha. After the Gemara Hachikama, as Horami Hado Umisnaba Lamali. You're right. If he would have just repeated the mitzvah, okay. Then you're right. That's only a prat. But here he's not only repeating the mitzvah, he's telling you the whole thing from the beginning. The whole azhara, the whole warning is also repeated. So if he's repeating azhara by the Shav Mitzvah Neinayach, that means it's for both. Says they only have one example that was said once for the Bnei Noyach and not repeated al Har Sinai, which is that Elagid Hanesh Bavad. It was said only by it was. By Yaakov Avinu. I'll leave it to Rabbi Yehuda. But you just gave 2 cases. You gave the case of Mila. It wasn't really repeated. It was only to tell you a new din. And you gave the case of Pri Ravia. You said it's not a repetition. It's really to tell you a new din. So you have 3 cases, which was only mentioned once, not twice. If you want. After these mitzvahs, you're right. It wasn't repeated for the to say the din twice, but it was b'pel mamish the din was repeated, but to tell you a prat in the din. But this is of achilles gid hanesha. There's 0 of mention of that mitzvah a second time. There's 0 of it. Yeah.
So why do we do Gid Nasha today? Because
because it's for Yidden, not for Goyim.
But it wasn't repeated at the Matan Torah. You're saying the Ram said that everything is repeated at Matan Torah.
It wasn't repeated.
So
I think it was only said Matan Torah. It wasn't said by Bnei Noyach. It happened. Matan Torah was revealed what Yaakov did, but it was only said once. If you want, Avramhu. 1 second. Okay, now the Gemara is asking if you want, when we're talking about Mila, right? We said Mila was repeated. Said the Gemara, it's not really a repetition. Mila, to begin with, was specifically given to Avram, even though it was repeated, but it was the first time was specifically for Avram, who the Kamazale Achmana, that the Torah, the Eibishter said, the Mitzvah Mila, only to Avram. V'ata es brisi. It says you Avram. V'ata tishma ato v'zaracha acharecha l'dayosam. The Eibishter told Avram, you, your children that come after you. Ato you Avram v'zaracha in. Only you and your children, but in Shachin Alay. But all the other people don't have the mitzvah milah. Yeah. In fact, Bnei Yishmael was still Avram's son, Yishmael and Yitzchak. So why there's no chiyuv for Yishmael to do milah?
That's why I'm about the 13.
So yeah, but he's asking, even after the
There is a chiyuv for Bnei Yishmael to do milah?
no, he's asking it should have been a chiyuv because he's his descendant. Says Gemara, no, it says Befedish, which children? Ki Yitzchak. Who's going to be that Zara? Yitzchak. Gemara, okay, Yitzchak, but Yitzchak had descendants, Yaakov and Bnei Yisrael l'chayv. Let's be Mechayv Bnei Yisrael.
We need them.
Zag the Gemara, be Yitzchak in Yitzchak, like Kol, not all of Yitzchak's descendants. In Yitzchak, which descendants? Yaakov, not Esau. Maskal Avaishia Ishai asked Akash Alaviata B'nei Ketura Loi L'chayvai. The B'nei Ketura, he married the ship. Yeah, he married Ketura. He remarried her. He took her back.
And he had other children.
And he had 6 children.
Yeah.
So, and we know that they were all circumcised. They shouldn't be. It says here, he brings down, they were all circumcised. So
everybody has
so
not only that.
no, so it was there. So in fact, as Brisi Heifa, Rabbi. So the Gemara says, there Rabbi's Bnei Ketura. There we had for the Bnei Ketura a special limud. We had extra words as Brisi Heifer, and that was and Heifer was extra. Brisi Heifer was extra. From 18, I'll just see as Brisi Heifer miyutores. Because it already says in the beginning of the pasuk, "V'orel zachash Elohim sorry Allah say," it says "V'nichlasa nafshah me'amal." So the words as Brisi Hefer, there was no need for it. So the as Brisi Hefer came to include the children of Judah that had to do the milah. Adam Arishan was not allowed to eat meat. The chsir, like it says in the pasuk, "Hina sat lachem es kol Esav lachem." The kol Esav that I'm giving you is lachem yilachal ulechal chayis haaretz, for you and for all the chayis of the earth to eat. Mashma.
Who's he saying the pasuk to?
The Eibishter told Adam. Lachem, who's lachem? You and the chayis haaretz get to eat the Esav haaretz, the Esav, the grass of the earth. Loi chayis it's mashma, but loi chayis haaretz lachem, but the chayis of the Haaretz is not for you. Okay? When the children of Noah came, they got to eat just like Adam from the Esav Haaretz. But it doesn't add Chayis Haaretz. When the children of Noah came, he was matter them to eat meat. Never like it says in the pasuk, "Kol remes hashu chay lachem yiyu la'achla."
Who's matter? The
Eibishter was matter. Yeah, the mitzvahs of Hashem to Noach and his children. When they came out of the Teva, he said to them, all mashim, right, that are living should be for you to eat. Ki yerek esav nasat lachem es koil. I gave you everything like the hefker, like the vegetables and the grass is hefker to you. Everything else is mutter to you. I would have thought, everything is mutter. So Eva Menachai should also be mutter. So Talmud Leima, ach, basa benafshe damid leisechelu. That's the union of Eva Menachai. Yochal afle shotzim. So I would have thought the Isa goes even to shotzim. You're not allowed to eat the dam, right? Or you're not allowed to eat Talmud Leima. That's why the Torah says, ach. Ach, bas menashe, that shotzim are not included. The Isa of Eva Menachai is not shy by the shotzim. Not the dam. I mean, they eat shotzim. The Eva Menachai is not shy by shotzim. What is this limud? How do we learn dafke shotzim excluded? Rav Huna said from the blood. Anything that the Torah separates the blood from the meat, as the blood is like the soul of the animal and the meat is something separate, that's where the Geda of Eva Menachai is applicable. But in a place where the dam is not separate, then the basa it's one, then there's no din of Eva Menachai.
There's a shon.
Amar Rav Huna. Damai, he says, in this pasuk it mentions Damai, that only b'misha Damai, cholik mepsari, only such a malchai which the blood is separate than the basa. Yatsa shatzim, because it excludes shatzim. She ein dam cholik mepsari. That blood is not separate, it's one thing. So therefore, there's no gedam Eva Menachai. In fact, I'm going to ask you. You said you're allowed to eat. Ad Marishim was asa to eat meat. Look what it says. Uradu, you should rule over the gas hayam, over the fish in the yam. It seems like fish is considered as meat. That's you eat a fish for dinner. That's like a meat dinner.
It's healthier too.
I don't know. You know better. In fact, my love la'achila. Isn't that not the means for eating? So you see, you said the other was forbidden, says to eat meat.
But the fish is not meat.
Yeah, he says, that's what I'm trying to say. He's using this. And the Mefarsh, the Shulchan Aruch brings this as a raya, that fish has a din like meat. And you're not allowed to eat it with milk, according to one day. Because it's like meat and milk, others say sakana. Anyway, meat, meat with fish is I said. So you want to like libelacha. It means for work. In fact, what are you talking about? Fish could do work for you. Says yes. Where do we see the Kirya Chava? Where the Bayra Chava Gefekt Hashayla. When a gate to Klayim, you're not allowed to take two different behemoths to pull a charisha to plow. So what do? Hinik be'iza vishibuta. He had a side by the border where the grass was close to the yam, so he had a tigula pushing together with a big fish, a whale, or let's say, and pulling the wagon. What's it in? So you see that the fish do work. Toshma come to you said that other nation was not allowed to eat meat, right? It says, Uradu, you should rule over the Oiv HaShamayim. That means my lab lachila. Doesn't it mean Oiv HaShamayim to eat? So you see, you're allowed to eat meat. So Gemara loylam lacha. Birds do malacha. So you want in? Yes. Like Rab Baravuna at Gefekt Hashayla. So there's a din by you're not allowed to muzzle up the animal when it's doing the Tzaisa from Chaim you're not a Chaimas, a Chavisa. I remember the lashon. So there it says. So the Shaila was, we should compare it to a shayr that has four. It uses all four hands or four feet. Okay. Yeah. So it says the Gemara, and the Gemara has the Shaila. How about Dosh Ba'avazim Atara Gelim that have only 2 feet? Could you muzzle them up or not? So later, so there was a machlekes. One day is whole. We didn't mean mamish 4 feet. We mean that he uses all his keiches. So Avazim are using all the keiches, or maybe you need to have 4 feet. So Rabbi Yehuda Bai, what's the din? That's what the Gemara asked Akasha. According to him, that you learn out from Shayah 4 feet. Does it mean 4 feet, or it means all his keiches? Tashma, come in here and I'll bring you a raya. Another kasha. So you see, it's for work. Tashma, it says it says at the end of the pasuk, you should rule over all chayes that crawl, creatures that crawl on the ground. So that's meat. So your mother, that no, it's ahula suye nachash huda. So it's come to tell you about a nachash, and it's for work. What kind of work? In the olden times, we learned that they had feet before the punishment. The Tanya that we learned in the Braisa, Rav Shimon ben Menashe Aima, Chaval al Shamish Godel Shavit ben Haylam. Very woe is that we lost such a great servant from the world.
When did they used to punish them?
They said us. If we, what he says, Ili Male, the Nachash, if the Nachash wouldn't have been cursed. So every Jew would have 2 good snakes. One snake you send to the north, one to the south. Sandal boinin to bring them in. Even you cut a tighter strainer, they would bring back. They knew. No, it wasn't like that. It was on feet, and they would be able to get everything. They knew how to get these avodim tevis. Avodim tevis, acheres, magalis. No, they would bring it back. They would put it in their mouths. They knew how to search out there. And not only that, if you needed to spread manure over the field, they would put a string on its tail, with buckets of the manure, and they would spray out the manure. It would be beautiful. And now we lost it. We don't have that. So you see, adach is for work. It's not for eating.
You don't leave the cows anymore?
Nope.
Now we need a truck.
In fact, you want to make in fact Akasha. You want to ask Akasha. You say other Marishan wasn't allowed to eat meat. Hoy Rabbi Yehuda ben Teimaima. Other Marishan meis began Eden hoya. Other Marishan was leaning and reclining in the Gan Eden. And the Malachi Asharis were roasting meat for him and straining the wine.
Barbecue.
Yeah, Hitzitz by Nachas. We're all being in the scanner. But the Nachas looked at him. He was jealous. That's why he went and caused the Chav to sin. So you want to Hasam Basi Hayerim in the Shemaim. There was meat that came from the Shemaim. It wasn't meat from animals.
It wasn't
Like a man. But if he could Basi Hayerim in the Shemaim, was the Basi that came from the Shemaim? So you're saying yes. Where do we see that? Like the story with Rav Shimon ben Chalafta. He was going on a journey. A whole bunch of cub lions surrounded him, and they were barking. They were. They needed something to eat. So the young cubs are screaming for food. Please don't make me for their supper over there. So they wish to send down Min Hashemayim 2 thighs of meat. One thigh the cubs ate, and one was left over. I say, so Reb Shimon ben Chalafta brought it, but also the Beis Medrash, he brought it to the Beis Medrash. By line, yes, Davar Tameh, who's there? Davar Torah. Is this Tameh or Torah? There's no shchita. He got ready-made meat. Could I eat it or not?
The butcher did over there.
The butcher was done. He got a part of inflation. Amrulay said the Beis Medrash Hamgaft ain't Davar Tameh the Yerim in Hashmayim. There's no Davar Tameh that comes from the Shemaim. God kosher. He asked the Shiloh, you're the Lloyd Mus Chamer Mal. What's if he came down in the mus of a Trefne Behema, of a Chamer, of a donkey he came down. So he said back to Abzeri Rabbi Avo, he was very sharp to him. Yoru Nola, you're like a Tanan Shaita, a bird that cries and is a little crazy. But the truth is, because he was fasting a lot, so they thought he's not Metalabin, Rab Zera. Anyway, Hamrilei, we just told you, Ein Davar Tameh Yerim in Hashemayim. There's no Davar Tameh that can come from the Shemayim. So that's what he answered back. And that's why he called him. He said, that's what he gave, but he called him Tanan Shaita because he said, I told you already. You're not with the program, he was telling him.